The Cinematic Shuffle has shuffled once again. If you were around on my Twitter handle last week, you would have seen me give off my 3 hints for what this film was going to be. I said adaptation, dinosaurs, but it wasn't Jurassic Park. Jacob Martin, you guessed King Kong, and I will admit that's a solid guess. But I have reviewed all King Kong and Godzilla films on my channel before in my Monster Madness movie marathon a few years back. Instead, the film in question is the 2009 Will Ferrell film Land of the Lost. Let's get cracking. Land of the Lost is a 2009 comedy adventure film following Dr. Rick Marshall, a paleontologist played by Will Ferrell, as he invents a machine that transports him to a universe where time has lost all meaning, and he must use his wits and the help of a few friends to escape back home. Before I head on with my review, make sure that you guys head over to my Twitter handle at IAMDWG, which is where I usually post my 3 weekly hints for each installment of the Cinematic Shuffle. Sometimes I do it as a YouTube short as well, but not always, so keep that in mind. So now let's return to my review of Land of the Lost. In general, this was a commercial flop in the box office. Its budget was $100 million, and worldwide it got back something like $68 million, so it never made even. All around, I think that most people, if they've seen this movie, consider it to be terrible, a waste of time, a waste of energy, and it spits on the face of the original source material, which was a TV show, by the way, back in the 70s. Do I think that this film deserves all the hate that it's accumulated throughout the years? No. Not all the hate, but definitely some of the hate. I never saw the original source material, so I can't really speak to that. But even if I could, I am somebody that typically, more or less, believes in creative liberties and doing what you want with what you have. All I personally want in return is a good film that stands on its own 2 legs, which this doesn't so much. Land of the Lost, in my opinion, really just kind of comes down to 2 major flaws: visuals and storytelling. The visuals in this film are full of some of the worst consistent CGI I've ever seen in a movie, especially for something that came out in the late 2000s. It's almost as bad as The Flash. I'm kidding. But seriously, it's bad. Even if you're just looking at the practical set designs of some of these locations, it all looks like it was put together by maybe paper mache and cardboard, and it just looks fake. But who knows, maybe that was the point, you know, that's always the possibility when it comes down to comedies. The storytelling's bad because it doesn't really feel like it knows what it wants to do. It's all over the place, as it sometimes is when you're talking about adventure films, but usually these types of movies know how to string together scenes so they at least make sense with each other and with the overall plot. What I feel like happened here was they took a look at the old TV show, they watched a few episodes, they saw all these different threats that these people ran into in each episode, and instead of episodes here, this movie has scenes. So like scene 1, dinosaurs, scene 2, lizard people, scene 3, monkey people, scene 4, bugs, scene whatever, you get the gist. And nothing feels paced together very well. Plus, blink and you'll miss the actual story goal of the film because it seems irrelevant with everything else. They put very little weight on its importance, just so they could maybe fit more random humorous moments in the film, like Will Ferrell showering himself in dinosaur pee, for instance. But like I said, I don't think that it warrants all of the hate that it's gotten, because even though I didn't exactly belly laugh with any of the scenes, I did like the casting here, believe it or not. I thought that Will Ferrell fit right in with this role that seems bigger than most of his other similar but smaller stupid roles. It felt different somehow, even though he was still playing an immature man-child. I liked this film and this role for him. Anna Friel had some decent chemistry between him and Danny McBride, and humor-wise, I'd probably say that Danny McBride stole the show here. People don't like their characters because of what they did to the original source characters, and while I could potentially see that happening, again, I can't speak to the original source. I thought that these actors played well together, and in certain scenes, they were legitimately funny. But I will say this, it's like 60% of the movie, 60% all around, the jokes fall flat. That means more often than not, I just had a blank face on while watching the film. But technically 40% of the film, I will admit I giggled here and there, and I had a good time with it. So while the movie isn't good by any means, I will argue that it has its moments. I'll also go back to the CGI, and I'll say that part of me thinks that the CGI, looking as bad as it did, was on purpose, and I question if the movie would be any better with perfect CGI, because what they did here made the entire thing look a little bit campy, maybe so bad that it's good. And even though the CGI is horrible, it didn't really bother me in the slightest. Overall, I think that the film received more of a bad rap than necessary, but at the end of the day, does that really matter? It's still a bad movie that I don't really care to see ever again. But I rated this movie a D- letter grade. Final overall score of 40%, 40 out of 100 possible stars, which is the lowest score that I can give a movie without it being a failing letter grade of F. It does have its moments, like I said. They're just way too far and way too few between to really matter. Take that as you will and let me know your thoughts about Land of the Lost if you've seen it in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next installment for the Cinemax Shuffle. And until then, peace out.